Hey, g'day! So I made over 800 gold solo farming high level alchemy recipes on my hunter, and in only a few hours. As long as these prices even remotely hold, this is going to be by far the most ridiculous gold farm in Season of Discovery Phase 3. The first recipe I farmed is the Greater Shadow Protection Potion, which drops from the darker depths in Eastern Plaguelands. There are 3 spots for them, but by far the best one is the middle spot, because the other 2 have high level caster mobs which are going to annoy you, whereas that middle spot, it only has melee mobs. Now when you get here, you're going to see 3 little camps as circled in red, where there's going to be a pack of 2 mobs together. These mobs can spawn as either darker depths, which is the ones that we want, or crypt horrors, which share a spawn, so we should kill them in hopes that it's going to respawn as a darker depth. And there's also going to be a bunch of single mobs just scattered around. These can be either Scourge Guards or Diseased Flayers. These mobs we want to mostly avoid where we can, but we will kill them if they're in the way. To be fair, these mobs, they do drop a lot of rune cloth, and they can also drop some nice other things like high level greens, which we can disenchant, or major mana potions that are super valuable right now, since they can't be crafted yet. So with that out of the way, let's see how we can kill them. For the trash mobs, those Diseased Flayers and Scourge Guards, it's nice and easy. There's a tree here, which we're going to kite them around the tree with Frost Traps and Chimera Shot. But there is one issue with the tree. If, like me, you play with your camera nice and zoomed out, the branches here make it impossible to see what's going on. I have a fix for that. We can use the little known commands SaveView and SetView to quickly switch between those 2. So what you want to do, you want to make 2 macros, one of them with /run SetView1, and then the other one with /run SetView2, as shown on screen, and I'll also put them in the video description for your reference. Then we'll just need to save 2 views, however we like them. Here I've got my camera how I normally want it, nice and zoomed out. I'm just going to go ahead and type /run SaveView2 into the chat. This won't show anything to say it worked, but it has saved the zoomed out view to view slot number 2. And then I can go behind the tree, I zoom right in until the branches aren't in the way anymore. Once I'm happy with how it looks, I can type /run SaveView1, and that will save it to slot 1. I then combine the macros to whatever I want. For me, I just use 2 of the extra buttons on my mouse, but whatever you have spare is cool. I can now zoom in and out just by pressing 1 button. No need to spam scroll my mouse wheel to slowly zoom in and out all the time. So back to it. We just kite around the tree, flinging traps as needed, and filling the mob full of Chimera Shots. And once you've cleared out enough of the outer mobs, we can start taking on the packs and the mobs that we actually want. Here we're going to want to do a split pull. So the trick to that is to aggro the 2 mobs at exactly the same time with an AoE ability. Multi-shot, volley, or a trap will all work fine. Then we can just run away, shooting 1 mob but not the other. And after around 15 seconds, the second mob's going to leash back home, and we can just 1 versus 1 the mob that we've been shooting. Head on over to the tree and just kite it around like any other mob. Now that one was a double Dark Adept pack, but sometimes we're not going to be quite so lucky and we might have to kill the Crypt Horrors. These are the only mobs here that do anything relevant to us at all. What they do is they spawn little ads, little scarabs. They aren't really so dangerous, but they do make the tree kiting just a little bit annoying, since it's hard to kite multiple mobs around a tree at the same time. So what we can do instead is just head up to the east wall tower and kite around there instead. Here I'm just a wee bit unlucky and the Crypt Horror gets hit with my entrapment talent and the ads get a little bit ahead. If that does happen, not really a worry at all, since the ads do like almost no damage. You can happily tank them if you need to, just you'll want to make sure that you turn off Cheetah first. Once you kill the Crypt Horror, you can either feign death or you can run away to leash the scarabs and they will despawn. Assuming you're going reasonably quickly, you will want to be making use of all 3 spawns. One little tip is that when you're going for the back middle spawn, you can pull it without aggroing the leftmost spawn if you need to. To do that, you just hug right on the hill and do your pull, and the left back won't aggro. This can be nice if there's an adept to kill in the middle backpack, but you've got a double crypt horror in the left one. It's always nice to cherry pick the adepts first, so you can leave 6 crypt horrors and 0 adepts for the next person when you finish. Now, it'll take a little while to get the recipe. For me, it's about 2 hours, but this one did sell for 300 gold, and hey, 150 gold per hour ain't half bad. Now, we could farm a bunch of these, but it's much nicer to get a mixture of recipes so that they're easier to sell. So the next recipe that we'll want to yoink is the Greater Nature Protection Potion recipe. This one's actually the easiest one to farm. We just head to the cave in Western Plaguelands, which is just northwest of the bridge that leads to EPL. There's some slimes and some elementals here. The elementals are what we want to kill for the recipe, but the slimes do share a spawn, so we want to kill them also. And none of these mobs have really any relevant abilities at all. So it's just going to be the same principle as the last farm, except these mobs, they're way lower level and really easy to kill. Half the time I didn't even need to bother kiting around a tree, since with a lock and load and trap launcher combo, you kill them just so super fast. I also found that I could mostly just kill the mobs outside, and by the time I'd cleared them all, I could get maybe 2 or 3 mobs from inside the cave, and by that time the outside mobs had already respawned for me again. I didn't really need to go particularly deep into the cave at all. And I won't over explain this, it really is basically just strictly easier than the last farm that we just looked at. You just run around trees, kill the mobs, before long you'll get the recipe. And then there's a third recipe that we can go for. This time, the recipe for the Mighty Rage Potion. Drops from Black Rock Slayers and Burning Steps, and there's some spawns north and some south. I found the spot to the north to be the best for me. There are 3 mobs that we're going to be fighting here that all seem to share spawns, so we will want to kill them all. Black Rock Sorcerers have a Fireball and a Flame Strike, and they're caster mobs, so they're going to just melt like butter to our physical attacks. Blackrock Warlocks have an Immolate and a Shadow Bolt. They do some decent damage. They also have a Curse of Tongues, but that does basically nothing to us. And they're also casters, so they also melt like butter. Then, Blackrock Slayers. These ones are the ones that we mostly want. They have a Hamstring and an Execute. Neither of those we really particularly care about, but what we do care about is that recipe they drop. Cherry pick these wherever you can. Now let's see how to kill them. You might notice that this time I have my pet out. I actually prefer Beast Mastery for these particular mobs. I have tried it with Lock and Load Chimera Shot like we used in the previous 2 farms, but I just found Deep Beast Mastery with Steady Shot and a Cat was just so much smoother against those casters. Now what we want to do for the Warlocks and Sorcerers is to shoot the mob and then immediately run back. We want to pull it just a little bit back because there are patrols and the mobs do have a big aggro radius. We really don't want to be getting a bunch of ads. So once we've pulled back just a little bit, we set our pet on the mob and the cat's basically just going to eat the mob for us. I will use Steady Shot between my autos, and if I do pull aggro, generally not an issue. The mob's going to die plenty before I do. But ideally I do want my pet to be taking most of the hits where possible. Now for the Slayers, same basic premise, except that if the pet does drop aggro, you will need to kite. There's a handy dandy rock here, which you can run circles around with Frost Trap if you need to. Mostly though, I do find my pet can kind of hold aggro most of the time, especially with Growl Taunt and Intimidation, but it is nice to have a kite spot in your back pocket if and when you need it. Now I did find that even with a little bit of competition in the spot, you never needed to tackle the groups of 2 mobs nor go into the building. It was fine just to pick off the mobs around the outside. Keep at it, before long you'll be the proud owner for recipe Mighty Rage Potion. And them's the farms. I sold the Shadow Protection Potion recipe for 300 and the other two for 250 each. And then when you add in the greens, the cloth, and the major mana potions and everything else, it's probably close to around 1,000 gold in just a little bit over 4 hours of farming. So even if the prices halve by the time that you come to do this farm, it's still going to be awesome. Best of luck, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.